102.5 KKCI FM, Goodland, Colby, an NWKS radio station.
With SRN News, I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Top U.S. officials are set to meet with a high-level Chinese delegation this weekend to talk trade. President Trump is sounding upbeat about the upcoming talks in Switzerland. He believes the discussions can be a win-win. Currently, the president has imposed a 145% tariff on China. The president says not all countries will get as good a trade deal as he achieved with the UK yesterday. And that's because they need to come early to the table. He says those that wait longer may not get as favorable of terms. A new trade deal with Britain cuts tariffs on UK cars from what had been more than 27% to 10%. The president says a baseline 10% tariff for the UK is not a guaranteed template for other countries. CEOs from the 5 largest U.S. airlines expressing their support for the Trump administration's proposal to modernize the air traffic control system. This is SRN News.
You heard the news. Newsmax just went public on the New York Stock Exchange and listed on the big board. Millions of Americans like you are joining our news revolution. Reuters Institute says Newsmax is one of the top 12 news brands in America. Even President Trump says it's terrific. 40 million Americans go to Newsmax, and its audience grew 50% since the same time last year. Millions really are making the switch to Newsmax. If you want to be a Newsmax share owner, call your advisor or get more info at newsmaxinvest.com. Stand with Newsmax today for a strong America. This communication is for informational purposes only and shall not be intended to or shall not constitute any offer to buy or sell securities, nor shall there be any sale of securities in any jurisdiction in which such offer, solicitation, or sale would be unlawful.
Here is the latest news and information that impacts you. I'm Derek White. 3 people from Meade were killed in a head-on collision Wednesday afternoon on U.S. Highway 54, 9 miles west of Greensburg. The Kansas Highway Patrol says 68-year-old Teresa Davis was driving westbound in the wrong lane and collided with a semi. Davis and her 2 grandchildren, 10-year-old Hunter Welsh and 13-year-old Travis Welsh, died at the scene. The semi-driver was uninjured, but the community is mourning this tragic loss. The Goodland City Commission approved key public works investments last Monday, including a $43,000 drainage expansion in the industrial park and a $121,000 street chip seal contract with Ergon Oil. Commissioners also greenlit the purchase of 3 new police vehicles, with 2 being acquired through lease purchase and 1 covered by city funds. For more information on this and other stories, visit nwksradio.net.
Rocket 102.5.
Today we'll be behind a cutoff low, moving off to the east further, and will be for sure dry with full sunshine and light southwesterly winds at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Highs will be in the mid to upper 70s, lows in the upper 40s. And over the weekend and early next week, Monday and Tuesday, high pressure ridge will move over the central U.S., resulting in sunny and dry conditions with above normal temperatures in the low to mid 80s during the days and overnight lows in the lower 50s. Also with lee side troughing on Sunday and ahead of the next couple level trough that will be entering the west coast, it will get windy Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday with gusts 20 to 40 miles per hour. This will likely elevate fire weather conditions and push those temperatures into the middle 80s. Wednesday will continue to be windy and warm, reaching into the low 80s. The front moving through in the evening and overnight that might trigger some showers and storms, and lows will be in the mid 40s. Thursday and Friday, there will be increased chances for showers and storms. This is meteorologist Chris Schromick in the NWKS Radio Weather Center.
Goodland's Rocket 102.5 is your home for Goodland High School athletics. From touchdowns and three-pointers to home runs, Ross Volkmer has you covered with all the action. Join him for live broadcast on Goodland's Rocket 102.5, your front row seat to the Cowboys and Cowgirls. Select games video streamed on the Goodland Voice. GHS athletics this season are made possible in part by
Shelter Insurance Agent Brentwood, Bateman Funeral Home, CFS Auctions, and L&W Andrest Insurance Agency.
Big savings are waiting at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Get a 25 Chevy Silverado 1500 with 0.9% APR for 60 months plus $3,500 trade-in cash. Or choose a 25 GMC Sierra 1500 Turbo Max, 0.9% APR or up to over $7,800 off if you own a GMC or Buick. And don't forget, military members get an extra $750 cash allowance. It's happening now at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Online at hurlchev.com.
Looking for insurance that actually puts you first? At the insurance agency in downtown Goodland, we're independent, which means we work for you. Whether it's auto, home, crop, or business, we shop top carriers to get you the best coverage at the best price. No pushy sales, just honest advice from people who live right here in your community. Give us a call today at 785-899-5011 or stop by 1020 Main in Goodland, and let's get you covered. The Insurance Agency. Insurance the way it should be.
Spring is in full swing at Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware. Get your lawn and garden looking their best with Ultimate Fertilizer and gear up with Eco blowers and mowers for the season ahead. Tackling a project, they've got a surplus of quality lumber ready for all your building needs. And when the work's done, fire up the fun with their wide selection of grills, smokers, and griddles from Traeger, Weber, and Blackstone. Stop by Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby, your one-stop shop for spring projects, big and small.
Convenience just got an upgrade. Farmers State Bank of Oakley is excited to announce the opening of our brand new ATM along Highway 40, right next to Sonic Drive-In. Whether you're grabbing a snack or on the go, you can quickly access your cash without the detour. It's banking made easy, right where you need it. Farmers State Bank of Oakley, member FDIC.
Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio is the place to turn to weekdays for the latest agriculture news and markets. Being a member of the National Association of Farm Broadcasters, we take pride in making sure you're informed of the latest news from the world of agriculture. Whether it's local, state, regional, or national, if it affects your farm or ranch, you can count on hearing it here. Daily reports from Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio are made possible by Farmers State Bank, Norder Supply of Scott City, Cornerstone Ag, and Woofter Construction and Irrigation.
You ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4! It's the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
Give me my cane. I'll show you how to play this game.
The region's only local sports talk.
Dynamite drop-in at Broadcast School has really paid off.
Broadcasting on Goodland's Rocket 102.5, simulcasting on Goodland's 730 Gold KLOE.
Guy is everywhere.
Discussing it all from the preps.
Touchdown, the Cowboys!
To the pros.
And Tendy back on the track. It's out of here. Bobby Witt Jr. delivers a go-ahead grand slam.
The Blitz is presented by Hurl Chevrolet GMC, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, and F&B Bank, as well as the Insurance Agency, Farmer State Bank in Oakley, the Cowboy Corner Express, and Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell.
Let's go to work.
There's a bouncing ball toward third, charging third baseman, going to second for one, on to first. It is not in time, and a run will score. Oniak able to get down the line for third on contact. Good read for him, and the Rockies draw first blood.
Moreno the other way. It backs up high. Still backing up. And it's gone. Gabriel Moreno. It's a Gabby grand slam, and it's 4-0 Diamondbacks. Big smile from Gabby, and why not? That's his first of the year.
Well hit, deep right center field. That's going to be over Maton and up against the wall. Fermin scores. India will be held at third, and Bobby Witt Jr. has his second RBI double and his fourth hit of the game.
On the move, Bud Colson. Again in the slot. Wrist shot. Score! Bud Colson gives the Oilers the lead.
My goodness, that was quite a game last night, wasn't it? I mean, that was just about as nutty as that, Avalanche Dallas game that happened a few nights ago. I mean, that Oilers Vegas Knights game last night, the 5-4 win for the Oilers in overtime, that was absolutely crazy. My goodness, a lot of crazy shots and a lot of kind of back and forth, or thought you had it, and then here comes the other team. That was a nuts game. Really, really nuts. I mean, Vegas is up 1-0 after the first period. It's 3-2 Edmonton after the second. And heck, it's even actually 4-2 Edmonton early on in the third. And then all of a sudden, bam, we're late in the fourth, or late in the third, excuse me. We've got this thing tied up. We got to go into overtime where Leon Draisaitl, assist from Connor McDavid, which once again is probably one of the bigger reasons why the Oilers and the Oilers are where they're at with Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. But yeah, that was a crazy game last night in the NHL. No doubt about it. Extremely crazy game. Glad you're with us here on this Friday morning. It is May the 9th. It's a beautiful start to the day here on the High Plains. Sunny and 48 on our way to a high of 76. It is going to be a beautiful day for local sports, and it is a very busy one at that. Highlighted, of course, probably by the Colby Track Invitational over there at Denon Field in Colby. A ton of area schools going to compete there. And so a beautiful day for that on tap. Look forward to being there. I do the public address announcing for the Colby Track Invitational. Look forward to being there today to do that. But a beautiful day for local sports today, and we will talk on that, touch a little bit more on the weekend slate and stuff like that in our third segment coming up here on today's program. We'll be visiting with our good friend Eric Sorensen from D1 Baseball. He'll be joining the program coming up here in about 20 minutes or so to talk a little college baseball, where we stand as we get into the final couple weeks of the regular season for college baseball. Where does Kansas and Kansas State sit when it comes to possibly making the postseason? We'll also get some thoughts on some other topics surrounding college baseball here in the year of 2025. So Eric Sorensen, always a fun interview. He'll be joining us coming up here in our second segment. And we will get to the way too early top 25 is out from ESPN when it comes to college football, the post-spring way too early top 25 rankings. They came out yesterday from ESPN. Kansas State is on that list. They're in the top 25 according to ESPN, and the Big 12 with a pretty decent showing as well. We'll get some thoughts and report on that coming up here in the program. As always, if you'd like to be part of the Morning Blitz, we'd love to hear from you on the text line, FB Bank text line at 785-899-2222. Glad to see Jared is back with us today for the first time this week. Haven't heard from him yet, so good to see Jared back, so that's good. Michael also, of course, chiming in, talking about his Red Sox, who are going to be in Kansas City starting tonight for a 3-game series. Michael, are you making the long trip over to KC to watch? That's what I want to know. Are you going to make it over there to watch the Red Sox play? It should be an interesting series, by the way. Speaking of the Royals, my goodness, what a series they put forth against the White Sox. They completed the sweep of Chicago, 10-0, the win yesterday to complete the sweep of the Chicago White Sox. And once again, the Royals have now won. Now it is 15 of 17. They are absolutely demolishing the competition at this point in time. They are just absolutely demolishing, and they're just getting unbelievable starting pitching. Just unbelievable starting pitching, to be honest with you. Yesterday it was Chris Bubic, who goes 7 innings, 6 hits with a walk and 7 strikeouts. I mean, this is the formula of the olden days of baseball. It kind of is. Now it's become more, well, if your starter can get you to 5 or 4, then you're going to be fine. You can go to the bullpen. You can use a bunch of different arms. But this is the old school way of doing it. It kind of, this is where you want your starter to work into the 7th or 8th inning and then hand it off to one or two very high leverage guys to get the win and rack up a bunch of saves. That's the kind of the old, I feel like it's now an old school way of doing it. But a fun stat from Ann Rogers, who covers the team, talking about the Royals after this post series against the White Sox. The 4 runs allowed in the series against the White Sox are the fewest Kansas City had allowed in a 4-game sweep in club history, passing the previous record they had done 6 times, which was 5. So 4 total runs. I mean, that's the thing. They are just out there throwing up goose eggs all these innings. No one can score against the Royals' defense and their phenomenal pitching that they're getting, particularly in the starting side. And now the offense is starting to kind of come around a little bit as they got 10 runs scored, and that's the second time in the last 2 series that they've got double-digit runs scored as they put up 10 in the sweep of the White Sox. But 23-16, they're absolutely cooking right now. The problem is they're not gaining any ground on the Tigers as they swept the Rockies yesterday in that doubleheader and absolutely blew the doors off Colorado. The finals of those scores were 10-2 and 11-1. I mean, outscored 21-3 over the course of a doubleheader. I don't know if anybody saw the the video, they were talking with Kyle Freeland, who took the loss in game 1 on the mound, and they were visiting with him. What do you say? The question had to be something like this. What do you say to the fans at this point in time? You're now 6-31 on the season. You're one of the worst records. It's the worst record in baseball. It's one of the worst starts in baseball history. What do you tell the fans? And he's like, well, just hang with us. Just hang with us. I don't know what you can ask of the fans. This is one of the worst starts in baseball history, and they are chasing history now. They are in the conversation for being one of the worst baseball teams in the history of MLB. They are in that conversation right now. So, like I said, I don't know if they're going to be that. I have no clue, but they are in the conversation for being one of the absolute worst. Jared going, Bud Black's comments weren't any better. He had nothing to say. That's another point too, Jared. I know we're getting off on a side tangent here, but what in the world are they doing? The Pirates fired their manager yesterday. They fired their head guy yesterday. He's out. And we're not even, a third of the way through the season, getting close to not even third way through. They fired him. Why in the world are they doing? I know Dick doesn't care. Dick Monfort doesn't care. I get it. But come on. This is so pathetic. You've got to be the person who just absolutely does not care at all to say, well, we need to make a change somewhere and try something. This season, if you want to know what a tanking season looks like, this is it. This is a tanker. You have absolutely no desire to win from management, or from ownership, I should say. And because of that, they don't care who's running the team. They don't care who's on the team. This is just an absolute disaster. And we're going to get to follow this plane that is in an absolute nosedive the whole season and see how bad it can get. Right now, it is bad. Yes, a dumpster fire. I would agree on that, Jared. A dumpster fire. This is a plane that is absolutely in a complete and utter nosedive into the side of a mountain. Heck, even to the plane, doesn't matter. It's going straight down. Boom. I don't even know if they can pull the nose up enough to prevent from being the worst team in baseball in history. I don't know if they can do that. I don't know. But they got blasted yesterday by the Tigers. They got the Padres coming to town this weekend. That's not going to get any easier. We heard with Dan Lucero earlier this week, if you look at the division that they're in, they're not going to win hardly any divisional games. They'll win a couple, but they're hardly going to win any. And like we talked about maybe on Monday about the weekends, about a series win, they haven't won a series. Who knows since when? They haven't won a series this season. So all the way since last year. They may not win a series until the 1st of June. Sort of looking like that. Can you imagine just going into that locker room? Can you imagine going to that clubhouse every day knowing that you're just probably going to get beat? That is really depressing. And for a bunch of guys who are professionals, and in order to be a professional, you've had to have some success. Be pretty darn good at what you do to be a professional at it, and to be at the very bottom of the barrel and to be that awful. And that's hard. That's really, really hard. But I think even if they just decide to make a change and went away from Bud Black and went to Clint Hurdle or something, who's the hitting coach, and just change something up, maybe you spark a little something. Maybe you prevent from being the worst team in the history of baseball, from where I think that's on the path you're on right now. 135 loss season at this point in time. It's not good. They got to make some changes. And and I was also thinking about this too, staying on the Rockies here. They were talking about, why they feel so, why is Dick Monfort not wanting to do anything? Why are they just sitting on their hands? Why do they not want to do anything? Even in the offseason, didn't do anything. I think they're gun shy. I think they're completely gun shy. They don't want to make any big moves or anything like that because they just got burnt on their last attempt at a big one. The signing of Chris Bryant has been an absolute bomb. It has been horrific. The guy has spent more time on the IR and in the operating room getting surgeries and stuff on his back, no offense to Chris, but it's the truth, than he has on the field there at Coors Field. And because of that, my guess is they're like, we don't want to do that. We ain't willing to spend more big-time money on a player that never sees the field. And I would bet a pretty good big thing on that. But yeah, I don't know. Can other owners pressure Monfort to sell? I I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, this is where Major League, I mean, it just doesn't matter. We've talked about this before. It just doesn't matter. I don't think they can pressure him to sell. I mean, unless they're just so awful for multiple years in a row, that might move the needle for MLB baseball, saying, you need to try harder. But nope, they're not going to. And they've got it all set up to where they're going to make money no matter what. So it's a rough deal. Tell you what, I'm glad I'm not a Rockies fan. I'm sorry, Jared, but I'm glad I'm not. That would be a horrific season. I mean, I wouldn't even tune into the games. I wouldn't even check the scores. It wouldn't matter. I'm done with this season. 40 games in barely? I'm done with this season. So anyway, Royals continue to win. Rockies continue to lose. An update there from Major League Baseball yesterday. Okay, I want to get to our first topic of the day real quickly for the next 10 minutes or so. And I want to get to the way too early top 25 came out for college football here from ESPN yesterday. They rolled through the top 25. And I was looking to see if there were any area teams that made the cut. Kansas State did. The Kansas State Wildcats coming in at number 18 in ESPN's way too early post-spring top 25. Here's what they said about the outlook on 2025 from the Kansas State perspective from ESPN. You have Avery Johnson, quarterback, ready to take the next step as a passer. Coach Kleiman says he's much more confident and efficient heading into his second season as a starter and first under new offensive coordinator Matt Wells. Edwards, that would be once again running back Dylan Edwards, is ready to emerge as the number one tailback after DJ Giddens, of course, went to the NFL. And the Wildcats added a couple of wide receivers, whether it was Jaron Bradley out of Boston College, Jerron Tibbs out of Purdue, or Caleb Medford out of New Mexico, added 3 wide receivers to help Jace Brown, of course, their big returning wide, their one really, I think, pretty decent returning wide receiver. And so they bring all these guys back. They have to replace 3 guys on the offensive line. And their two leading tacklers, though, return on defense. They do lose their top edge rusher and Brandon Mott. But they've got plenty of returning talent. Stufflebean is back. Plenty of other guys as well. So I don't know. It is a good looking squad, and they've addressed the areas when it comes to the portal, particularly on the outside, needing some more experience on the outside to help Avery Johnson. I mean, you just got to be able to pose a bigger threat on the passing game side, I would say, to open up the running game, open up the running lanes for Dylan Edwards stuff. But I still go back to, we've talked about this with multiple guests that join us talking Kansas State all the time. It comes down to that offensive line. That's what, where's the beef? The beef on the Kansas State line is what has helped them be as successful as they've been at times. And you got to replace 3 stars on the offensive line. Now they did go in the portal and do a lot of work there, as we've talked about before. They brought in a lot of different guys, and they recently added even more guys here over the last couple of weeks with the transfers from Pitt and Penn State. So they've added pieces. They're doing everything they can to put themselves in the best position to have success. But, I mean, and you got to think, if those guys can gel together on the offensive line, that's got to make you feel pretty good there if you're Kansas State. They can gel together on the offensive line. You're going to feel good about your quarterback spot, your running back spot. You're going to feel pretty good about, we'll see about the offensive or the wide receivers. These guys are guys that have experience at other Power 5 programs, but we'll see how that translates to the Big 12, particularly for a guy like Caleb Medford, who is at New Mexico, but the guy from Boston College and Purdue, you think should be able to translate in there pretty good. You'd think. So we'll see. And then, of course, defensively, you have your 2 top leading tacklers back. That's big. Last year, Kansas State, they had, it was a good year. It wasn't as great a year as I think maybe some people were hoping for. But once again, you go with a young rookie quarterback and got to replace some pieces on the offensive line. Those are the type of things that are going to happen in a Big 12 that was pretty darn good last year. With the additions of BYU and Arizona State proved to be very, very tough teams. And not that Kansas State played Arizona State, but they played BYU and struggled on the road in Provo. But they got a lot of good pieces come back. The question is, can it all gel together? And underneath new coaching, too. And I think that's kind of, they mentioned it there, it's a new offensive coordinator, Matt Wells. I know he's done it before. Know he's had success at his other stops, whether it was Texas Tech or, well, I don't know. He didn't have a great stop at Texas Tech. He was head coach there, but, at Utah State, he's had some other spots where he stopped and had some success as a coordinator. be intrigued to see how that goes. But, new offensive line coach, new tight ends coach, new, of course, coordinator on the offensive side. How does that all come together? And it still may all come together, and it still may be difficult to get to 10 wins or even finish as a top 25 team because of what is in the Big 12, because I was looking at the rest of this way too early top 25, and of that way too early top 25, there are 5 teams in the Big 12 taking up the top 25, and they are all within the 10 to 18 range. So they're all in the middle of the pack. They're not at the bottom. They're not at the top. They're in the middle of the pack. The highest rated team, it would be coming in at number 10. That would be BYU. The Cougars, after a very impressive 11-2 season, return a ton of pieces after just coming just so close to making the CFP last year. But with all those guys coming back on offense, they probably should be a little bit more explosive. But defensively might be an issue, so they might be a little bit more of a higher scoring team, kind of a shootout type of team this year. But the Cougars are ranked number 10. Arizona State comes in at number 12. I feel like this might be a little bit of a reach. I know they won the Big 12 title, and I think that's awesome. And Sam Leavitt, their quarterback, is back, which is big for them. But they are going to miss Cam Scadaboo. They're going to miss the guy who was drafted by the Giants. They're going to miss that. That guy was like the heart and soul of the team. Was like the heart and soul of that team. And so I don't know. I feel like 12 is high for me on Arizona State. Just feel like it's a little bit high. Iowa State, I could see be ranking a little bit higher. They are up there at actually number 14. They have their quarterback back and Rocco Becht. Abdou Sama, who is back as well. He's in the mix there. So, they're coming off their first ever 11-win season in school history. So I think, and with your quarterback back and running back back, I don't know. We'll see. They do have to do some work on the offensive line and on the defensive line as well. They got to do some work there, but we'll see. We will see about that. And then rounding out some other teams in the Big 12 in the top 25, you've got Texas Tech at number 16. This one here, I don't know. This one that I feel like they're playing we know they spent a lot of money in the portal card. I think that's what they're doing. That's what I think ESPN is saying here. Well, Texas Tech has spent a lot of money in the portal. They do return their quarterback in Brian Morton. He's back. But they're looking at what they added in the transfer portal as they went up and spent a ton of money trying to shore up that defense, which was absolutely horrendous in 2024. Gave up 35 points or more in 5 losses and ranked 122nd in scoring defense and next to last in pass defense last year. So they're trying to get that better. I've got a new defensive coordinator as well. So they're trying to get better to go along with that offense that can put up some points. But they're banking on, once again, that they're going to be able to go out there. And like I said, they added in all these different defensive linemen, defensive ends to try and shore up that defensive side of the ball to go along with the offense that could put up some points. But I don't know. That might be a bit of a reach. We'll see. But Texas Tech is in the top 20 as well. And, yeah, that's it. Those are your teams there for the Big 12. Those are your squads. So, once again, in recapping real quick, you have BYU coming in at number 10, Arizona State at 12, Iowa State at 14, Texas Tech at 16, and Kansas State at 18. The way, way, way too early top 25. Way too early top 25 for college football next year. But I like where BYU is in this ranking. I think Arizona State is rated too high. I think Texas Tech needs to be probably in the top 25, but maybe not even, but maybe in the top 20, not in the top 15. Or sorry, in the top 20, in the top 25, not in the top 20. To make that say better. Kansas State probably in the right spot. I think Iowa State could move up a lot. I think they could move up. I think they're probably the second best team behind BYU at this point in time. But who knows? I mean, what it's all going to come down to, and it does every year. But I think it really comes down to in the Big 12. I really think this, and we're going to get to this more as we get closer and closer to the season. But the biggest thing that it comes down to when we're talking about who's going to have a good season, who's going to do that. Yes, it's the portal. Yes, it's getting your players in. Yes, it's getting them to gel together. Yes, it is what are you having. It is all those things add up. I'll tell you what, a big portion of it, especially in these massive, massive conferences, is what did you draw on the schedule? What did you get in the schedule that's going to maybe let you have a really, really good season? Who are you playing? Where are you playing them? And when are you playing them? Those are some of the biggest things to pay attention to in these massive conferences. Like if you just pull up Kansas State, they've got Iowa State to get things going. That's a huge game. It's over in Dublin. We all know that. It's going to be huge. The Aer Lingus Classic going to be awesome to kick off the season with Iowa State and Kansas State. It's a massive game. The team that drops that is behind the 8 ball right out of the gate. You know, Kansas State also on this year has Army at home. Not easy. Not easy playing an Army team that runs that triple option that nobody loves to defend. Very difficult to do. You've got a home game against UCF and a new head coach down there in Scott Frost, returning to where he had all that magic. Not saying that he's going to do it again, but you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen there. You've got Kansas on the schedule, which had a down year last year, but boy, they've got the pieces, one would think, to have a better year this year. But you just don't know. You just don't know until you get into the schedule and you get into the season and you see what teams have. And that's the harder part. You just don't know what teams are going to be because you don't know who they might have brought in, but you don't know how those guys are going to perform at this level, at the Big 12 level. You don't know how well they're going to gel together with their other teammates. You don't know how well certain things are going to come together. You just don't know. That's why it's so hard to make predictions on an early season top 25s. That's why it's hard to make predictions on records. It's difficult to do. But I will say, just judging from what I can see here on the schedule for Kansas State, I mean, the schedule, I think, plays out pretty well. You've got Arizona, lost some of their top players. You've got UCF, start over with a new coach again. Baylor, which has been okay. TCU's been okay. Kansas, kind of in the same boat. Texas Tech brought in a lot of players. At Oklahoma State, they are coming off a rough year. Maybe they rebound, maybe they don't. Utah lost a lot of pieces. They're kind of starting over a little bit. Colorado in the same boat. Who knows? Could be a great year for Kansas State. Just looking at the schedule, but there's a lot of factors that go into it. But interesting to see the Big 12 with 5 teams in the top 20, really. 5 teams in the top 20, all within the rankings of 10 to 18 in the way too early top 25s, and Kansas State sitting there at number 18 at this point in time. Okay, 7:33 Mountain, 8:33 Central Time on a Friday, May the 9th, a beautiful day, 48 and sunny right now on our way to a high of 76. Other programming note, AM 730 KLE going to be off the air later this morning and off until I think later this weekend as they are working on the tower. So for those who like to listen to AM 730 KLE, it will be off the air coming up a little bit later today for some maintenance. All right, let's get to our break. When we come back, Eric Sorensen, our good friend from D1 Baseball. We'll talk some college baseball next here on the Blitz.
Scott Gaywith was walking with his wife out in the country, and he goes, "Oh, look, honey, a dead bird." She looked up and said, "Where?" Well, things are sure looking up with the recent moisture and more to come. Shaw Gaywith Fertilizer and Seed has great deals for your drill on Golden Harvest seed. They'll continue with that special, and what a buy they have by the bag of quality Golden Harvest corn seed, plus extended free financing with approved credit. Shaw Gaywith Fertilizer and Seed, rural Oberlin, Kansas, where they put more profit in your pocket.
It's time for a check of the markets with the Anderson Trade Group on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
Good morning. This is Kate Thompson with the Anderson Trade Group. Today is Friday, May 9th. On the overnight last night, July corn higher 4 3/4 at 4.52 1/4. September up 3 cents at 4.29 1/2. December up 3 1/4 at 4.42. March corn up 2 3/4 at 4.56. July soybeans up 5 cents from the overnight at 10.50. August up 4 at 10.44. September up 2 1/2 at 10.23. November beans up 2 3/4 at 10.27 3/4. Chicago wheat July contract higher 3/4 cents at 5.30. September up 1/4 at 5.44 1/4. December down 1/2 cent at 5.65 1/2. March soft wheat down 1/2 cent at 5.84 1/2. Kansas City wheat July contract higher 1 1/4 on the overnight at 5.26. September up 1 1/4 at 5.40 1/4. December up a cent at 5.62. March hard wheat up 1 1/4 at 5.82. On the stock market this morning, the Dow up $99 at 41,567. The S&P up 19 at 5,703. The Nasdaq up $88 at 20,236. Gold higher $33 an ounce at 3,338. Crude oil up $1.04 at $60.95 a barrel. If you have any questions about marketing grain, would like to talk about risk management options, give our Colorado office a call, John Hanke or John Stiles at 970-744-4484, or in our Kansas City office, myself, Tom Pluto, Jared Law, Tyler Goch at 913-748-3000.
The Anderson Trade Group, proud market partners with Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio. Find out more at andersongrain.com. The risk of loss through trading futures and or options is substantial, and each investor and or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance, whether actual or indicated, is not indicative of future results. The Anderson Trade Group has no guarantee that the advice given will result in profitable trades.
Farmer Amaranth. 4 counts of yield theft, resistance to groups 2, 4, 9.
You ain't got nothing on me, man.
We've been surveilling you. And now we've got Tough 5 EC, a tank mix partner that'll make sure you and your gang of resistant weeds never see the daylight again.
Crack down on repeat offenders. Add Tough 5 EC to your post-emergence tank mix. Learn more at toughnweeds.com. Always read and follow label directions. Tough is a registered trademark of Belgium Crop Protection.
Imagine having more days of perfect weather, a combine that's more powerful, or even more soybean bushels per acre at harvest. With Revitec fungicide, you don't have to imagine that last one, because it's proven to deliver up to 9.5 more soybean bushels per acre than the competition. With results like that, it's easy to see why Revitec fungicide is the #1 recommended fungicide by soybean farmers. Visit Revitec.com and talk to your BASF retailer today. Always read and follow label directions.
You're listening to the High Plains only local sports talk show.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
The Morning Blitz.
FNB Bank text line out of the break. Michael talking about how he's not going to the Red Sox Royals. Says he's got the MLB package. Be there in spirit. Can you? There's the question I have for you, Mike. I mean, I don't. If you're talking about like MLB. If I'm thinking about the MLB package, I get through MLB.com. Like, I mean, I think those games are like blacked out. You can't watch those games if I'm thinking of the right thing. I could be wrong. Be like you have to have the sports FanDuel Sports Network only why you'd watch the Royals, because even if they play like the Rockies, for example, it's blacked out. So double check that, Michael. Just double check that. I could be wrong though. I really certainly could be wrong. All right, let's change some gears. We're going to talk some college baseball here. We're getting into the very end of the season, about a couple weeks left to go in the regular season. And we got a lot of Kansas still in the hunt and some other teams still trying to vie for the postseason as well. And so we will be, we're pleased to be joined on the phone by our good friend, Eric Sorensen from D1 Baseball.
Eric, thank you so much for spending some time with us, my man. How things going? I know you just got back from a trip to the Northeast. How was it up there?
Yeah, I kind of had it was actually kind of a 2-week trip. I went to Louisiana first and saw Dallas Baptist, Louisiana Tech, and Tennessee LSU. And then I flew up to stay with some friends in New York and in Boston, and I got to see Northeastern, a team that is not really well known, but they lead the country in team ERA. So I got to see them play, and I got to see Bryant against Maine. I get to see a lot of teams that I don't normally get to see. So that's kind of the reason why I took this trip for 2 weeks and all that.
What were your takeaways of the Northeast teams in particular?
Well, it's kind of one of those things, and I think we've probably touched on this before, that, a lot of those northern teams, especially I think even where your listening area is, Kansas, Kansas State, Nebraska, Creighton, a lot of these teams, they just kind of start playing better as the weather warms up. I mean, you can look at UConn. UConn's another team I wanted to see, but the one day that I was up there, I was going to go to, it was raining, so I didn't. But all these teams, they have kind of crappy starts, and then the weather starts to warm up a little bit, and they get better. It's just kind of like it happens every year, it seems like. So that's why when I saw Northeastern, again, they're the #1 team in the country in team ERA. And they're a mid-major, but their RPI is like number 32 right now, or 33 right now, I think it is. And I came away pretty impressed. They've got a much better offense than they've had in past. Mike Glavin is the name of the head coach. He's the brother of the famous Tom Glavine from the Braves. And he just always puts together really good pitching staffs, and his teams always pitch really well. This year, they got a little bit more pop in them to go along with it. So this is a solid team that I think will probably go in the NCAA tournament as a 3 seed, maybe 4, but more likely a 3 seed. And I think they can cause some trouble and give some heartbreak to some people, I think, given the chance.
Well, not to go down a road here too long, but, that Northeastern team is a team that a lot of schools around here know. Kansas State, I think, went up there and did a home and home with them the last couple of years. I know Nebraska faced off against Northeastern in a super regional Arkansas back after COVID. So a lot of the teams around here know about Northeastern because they've been in the postseason. They've been a really good program for such a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. And the weird thing about their situation is they're obviously very much a Northern team, but they play in the CAA, which has almost all warm weather teams, if you want to call them that. You got UNC Wilmington, Campbell, College of Charleston, Elon, all of those teams, they're Southern teams, and Northeastern is playing them in a Southern league, essentially. So it's really impressive to see that they're, in fact, actually I had it in front of me a second ago. They're there 19-2 in conference play, just dominating the CAA this year. So I think last year, Northeastern got bumped out of an NCAA tournament spot despite having an RPI at number 35. So I think this year they're trying to make sure that they cover all their bases and get an at-large bid if they don't win the conference tournament.
Absolutely nuts. Eric Sorensen, our guest here on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware Hotline from D1 Baseball. I want to get talking about Kansas baseball. Eric, this is a program that was on the up and up with Coach Fitzgerald and how good that they have been this year. They've been kind of flirting with the top 25 a couple times off and on throughout their season. What are your thoughts on Kansas baseball here as we get into the month of May?
Yeah, I'm really excited about Dan Fitzgerald's team this year. Right now, what is it? They're in 3rd place in the Big 12. They've been in the rankings most of the season. Their RPI is in the upper 30s, which isn't bad. I've been really impressed by one thing. Obviously they kind of laid an egg this past week, hosting Cincinnati and losing all 3 games. The thing that shocked me about that series, though, is their offense. Their pitching gave up so many runs to Cincinnati. Cincinnati scored 7, 18, and 13 runs against them. This is a team that's been, the ERA has been pretty good in the low 4s. They're north of 5 now, but they've been good all season. And they really got it taken to them. So this is an interesting team as far as had been consistently really good, and then all of a sudden had this big speed bump. We'll see if they're playing BYU next and then at West Virginia to close the season. I really love this team, though. And again, we've talked about how this is a team of a bunch of transfers. Like most of their better players have been transfers this year. And Dan Fitzgerald's done a great job of bringing in not just JC guys, but guys in the transfer portal from 4-year schools. So he's done a great job with them. They're one of the success stories of college baseball this year. And I'm really glad to see it because I like Dan a lot.
When you talk about Dan Fitzgerald, this is a guy who was, I believe, an assistant at LSU for a while and then came up here to Kansas. This is going to be a guy, if he does this again next year, that's going to be one of the hotter coaches on the market, one would think, no offense to the program at Kansas.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of the bummer about the success of teams of coaches. When they're, especially on mid-majors, I know KU's in a Power 5 or I guess now Power 4 conference, but yeah, that's just kind of goes with the territory. I think KU, the interesting thing is they've really started to put some more emphasis in baseball program because, like, I think I might have told you, I went to my first ever KU basketball game at Fog Allen Fieldhouse 2-3 years ago. And Dan, he wanted to show me around when I was there. And they've done a lot of great things with their facilities there. They've kind of brought it up to or close to Big 12 levels. So the emphasis on baseball, I think that's going to help as far as if the administration wants to say, hey, we better hold on to this guy. Look what he's done for us. We can make baseball a moneymaker now with this guy and the success that we've had. So I think they're going to, I'm not going to say open up the Brinks truck necessarily. This still is not an SEC school. It's a basketball school. We all understand that. But I think they're going to do what they can to hold on to him. But yeah, I think he's also going to be hot property in the coaching circles coming up. If not this year, like you said, maybe another year there. If they have that kind of success, he's going to be hard to hold on to for that KU program.
Once again, we're visiting with Eric Sorensen, writes for D1 Baseball here on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware Hotline here on the Morning Blitz. Just a few miles over in Manhattan, Kansas State, and your buddy Pete Hughes It's been an up and down season for them. They've had some moments of really good stuff, especially early on, have kind of faded here as of late. I don't want to say it's been a surprise, though, because they graduated a really good group of kids and are, to an extent, not total, but to an extent, kind of starting over again here in 2025.
A little bit, yeah. And I knew it'd be a little bit of a struggle for K-State this year. I think Pete has done a really good job. Now, I know they're only, 28-20. That's not a really sexy record. They are 14-10 in the conference, but this was a team that, it needed a little bit of overhauling this year. And I think that Pete's done a decent job with that as far as that goes. But yeah, they've missed out on some opportunities early in the year, though. I don't know if you remember, but they did beat Arkansas, Michigan, TCU in the what was it called? The Amergy College Baseball Series, whatever it was called. It was played at Globe Life Field, and they beat those three teams and looked really good. Lost to LSU in extra innings, but yeah, they've kind of hit some skids as conference play has gone on a little bit. I think the most shocking was when they got swept at Oklahoma State in 3 straight games and at Kansas in 3 straight. So those sweeps really, really killed them. And they also, in the meantime, they lost those 2 games at Northeastern. That was supposed to be a trip where they could schedule a good team and get some RPA points, and then they lose both games. So it really didn't help them much, unfortunately. So it's been an up and down year. And again, I'm not saying that it wasn't expected. I think Kansas State was kind of just on that sort of rebuilding type of mode. But for them to still be, number 43, 44 in the RPI, I think that's a pretty good showing right now. And they still got some time to make up a little bit of ground. So certainly not over for them. But, this week's probably going to be the toughest week. They're hosting West Virginia for 3 games. I think this is one of those things, Ross, where K-State might need 2 or 3 or even 3 wins to really jumpstart them back into the discussion, because you don't want to get swept by either them or Cincinnati the week after that, because that would really kill them. I think they really got to win some games and come out with a positive record between those 6 games they have left.
I mean, as we sit here right now, Eric, we got to think that Kansas State's probably on the outside looking in. Is K-State on the inside at this point in time of the postseason picture, you think, no matter what happens in the Big 12 tournament?
Yeah, I still have them slightly on the inside. Now, that would be me. I would say I don't always cotton with what the NCAA selection committee does, because what was it, 2 years ago, I think it was, K-State was on the bubble, and at the Big 12 tournament, Coach Hughes was really hammering to us about why they deserved a bid after they got eliminated. And I wrote an article from that tournament. I wrote about them saying, hey, I think they deserve a bid. This is why. And then they didn't get one. So last year they were a little bit close to the bubble as well, but they got in. Yeah, it's just, God, it's such a crapshoot when it comes to a Power 4 team being in the mid 40s and up from there to get an at-large bid. Again, I would have them in. The committee doesn't always see it my way. I wish, if it was up to me, I'd make the full NCAA tournament field myself, and it would be great. But they haven't given me those keys to that car yet. But yeah, this is going to be kind of tight. That's why I kind of say get a few more wins in the next two weeks, and it'll help their cause a lot.
What's your overall thoughts on the Big 12 Conference as a whole here this year?
So it's been great. I mean, obviously, when you add Arizona State and Arizona, those, they're in the top 5 of the conference standings right now, both of them. And, they've just added to it. And, you had Cincinnati ranked earlier, kind of crapped out for a little while. Now they're really playing well again. And they're a team that could make it to the NCAA tournament. Yeah, I just look at it, and I think there's 6-7 teams that could make it to the NCAA tournament. And we're talking about teams not named Oklahoma State and Texas Tech, which are usually there every year, So I really like what the Big 12's done this year. I think they're really strong, and for them to get 6-7 bids, not going to surprise me. I really look forward to covering the Big 12 tournament next week.
I mean, it should be a really competitive tournament, don't you think? I mean, really hard to just kind of pinpoint and say, well, it's going to be Texas or whoever. It's going to be kind of an open floor for everybody to be there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I forgot to mention, by the way, earlier this season, I saw West Virginia play at BYU. And man, that offense is just unbelievable. They put up 30 some odd runs in 3 games up there in Provo. So yeah, it's going to be real competitive. The weird thing is, though, Ross, it's like now it's all just, like these other tournaments too, it's all going to be single elimination, which is weird. It's, teams and fans can show up just for one game and then they're done. but it kind of makes it even more wide open to me, it seems like. So who knows? It could be anybody that gets hot enough to win the Big 12 tournament. I think it's the first 4 teams that get a first round bye out of it. So it's really important for those teams, even K-State and KU have a chance to get to that bye in the first round. And I think the selection committee also kind of looks at teams that get a bye and finish in the top 4 of these power conferences and probably give them a little bit more rope for an at-large bid. So if KU and K-State could do that, get into the top 4 before the tournament, that would be great.
A couple quick ones more here for you, Eric. The team to the north in Nebraska started out the year as a top 25 team. They are the most puzzling baseball team to solve, maybe in America. A team that had all these guys coming back and still cannot find a way to win games, and just against some of the mediocre competition in the Big Ten. I don't know what to make of this year. Is this just baseball? Can you just put that as this is baseball and this is what happens from time to time?
Yeah, I guess so, Ross. And again, I don't mean to make excuses for Northern teams, but it is a thing where you're usually not playing your best and you get better as the year goes on. But I also keep in mind, like early this year, it was the opening weekend, I saw them beat Vanderbilt. They beat them. It's like, that's a good team. And I saw them crush San Diego State at the same time, at the same tournament. So I've seen them and I thought, oh, wow, this is going to be a really good Nebraska team. They're in the preseason top 25, but man, sometimes the wheels just kind of wobble a little bit more than they should. And yeah, you're right. They just never quite got their cleats underneath them, despite all the talent they had coming back. So I think you just have seasons like that sometimes, especially, Coach Bolt, especially as a Northern team and playing new conference opponents too, like USC and UCLA. They didn't get the easy route as far as the draw in the Big Ten, I should say. In the Big Ten rotation, they got some of the tougher teams on their schedule. So I think that also was a bit of problematic for them this year.
No, it's been the weirdest season. Think about the losses they've had to some of the weird teams. Then they beat Oregon State.
Oregon State twice. Yeah, I forgot about
weird.
That.
So random how that year has gone. I'll let you go on this. You're a West Coast guy. You live out on the West Coast. How good is West Coast baseball this year? Because I think it's actually better than maybe it's been in previous years, especially with the play of like UCLA and even Southern Cal, who seems to be on a rebound.
Yeah, they're back in the rankings seemingly for the first time in forever, since the Rod Dedeaux days or something, it seems like. But yeah, I'm glad you asked that, Ross, because I think, Joe Healy, one of my colleagues at D1 Baseball, he wrote an article, I think just this past week, just a few days ago, about how it's really unfair that the Pac-12 this year would have been really, really good. And it's true. Even with Stanford kind of having a crap year, but the rest of the Pac-12 teams have done pretty good this year and are in competition. But yeah, I think the West has done really good, even without Stanford being good like we thought they would be. I thought they would be, at least. I think the West has done really well. And I think, certainly it has shown up in the teams that are in the Big Ten, because I think 4 of the top 5 are from the Pac-12 teams. And again, Arizona State, they're both in the top 4 of the Big 12. So I think it's shown that they've done pretty well. And they've also kind of benefited, despite having broken up, they've kind of benefited from playing all these teams from back east, because, just the way the RPI works, it helps when it never helped the West Coast teams, it seemed like, whenever they would play against each other, and it always kind of hurt their RPI wise. But this year it's kind of helped just because they got more cross-pollination across the country in these different conferences.
It's going to be a fantastic and interesting finish to the regular season, that's for sure. He's Eric Sorensen of D1 Baseball on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware Hotline. Eric, thank you so much for taking some time. Look forward to catching up with you over the next multiple weeks as we get closer to the CWS.
You got it, Ross. Thanks for sharing the airwaves.
Great stuff there again from Eric Sorensen of D1 Baseball. Take a quick break, come back and wrap the show with the weekend slate next here on this Friday edition of the Morning Blitz.
Big savings are waiting at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Get a 25 Chevy Silverado 1500 with 0.9% APR for 60 months plus $3,500 trade-in cash. Or choose a 25 GMC Sierra 1500 Turbo Max, 0.9% APR, or up to over $7,800 off if you own a GMC or Buick. And don't forget, military members get an extra $750 cash allowance. It's happening now at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Online at hurlchev.com.
Spring is in full swing at Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware. Get your lawn and garden looking their best with ultimate fertilizer and gear up with eco blowers and mowers for the season ahead. Tackling a project, they've got a surplus of quality lumber ready for all your building needs. And when the work's done, fire up the fun with their wide selection of grills, smokers, and griddles from Traeger, Weber, and Blackstone. Stop by Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby, your one-stop shop for spring projects, big and small.
If you're shopping for a banking institution, visit with Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, and Quinter, Kansas. The Equity Bank is heavily invested in local business and activities contributing in many ways back to their community. Their employees are involved with many organizations and area events. Plus, a lot of experience comes with that staff. You'll find valuable local assistance when you bank at the Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, Quinter, and other locations in Western Kansas. The Equity Bank, member FDIC.
At FNB Bank, we know family comes first. Whether you're opening a savings account for your kids, buying a new home, or planning for the future, we're here to help every step of the way. With personalized service and flexible options, we make banking easy for your growing family. FNB Bank, serving families, strengthening communities. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
It's the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
Hey everyone, come and see how good I look.
Your daily dose of sports.
All right, just a couple minutes left to go here in this week of shows. Thanks again to Eric Sorensen. Thanks again to the FE Bank text line all show long. Failed to mention in the first segment, Colby Community College baseball unable to complete the sweep of Fort Scott yesterday. They lose 8-4 in Game 2 of that best-of-3 series in the Region 6 first round. So that means the series not up at a game apiece, and the winner-take-all Game 3 rubber match game is today at 1 o'clock Central Time there at Young Memorial Field. Once again, the Trojans needing a win to extend their season into next week, where they would play in the Central District Championship. So we'll see if the Trojan baseball team get it done today in a winner-take-all, probably the biggest game of the season. No doubt about it. Biggest game of the season for Colby Trojan baseball. Yesterday, Goodland and Oakley tying atop the leaderboard at the Colby Eagle Golf Invitational. Both teams shooting a .330 over there at Meadow Lake Golf Course in Colby. Easton Fink of Oakley tied with Luke Tyne, I think, of Holcomb versus the 75 at the top of the scoreboard there individually. Barrett Schlosser led the Cowboys. He shot a 78. Or sorry, 78, excuse me. 38 would have been unbelievable. 78 as he came in third. Colby finishing fifth as a team. Caleb Dixon shot a 79. He finished in fourth there at his own home tournament there at Meadow Lake Golf Course. Today is the Hill City Golf Invite. Quinter and Hoxie are scheduled to be there. Mentioned earlier that pretty much every area track and field team, minus maybe one or two, I know Quinter being one of them, they're going to the Dighton Track Invitational, but everybody else will be running at the Colby Track Invitational today over at Denon Field. Look forward to seeing all the area athletes run and compete there at the Colby Eagle Track Invitational. That gets going at 2 o'clock Central Time there over Denon Field, and usually runs well into the night, running under the lights at around, feels like 10 o'clock at night with the 4x4. So I'll be there to watch that. Looking forward to that here today. Can't forget, of course, it is regional tennis today. This is taking place in Dodge City for our area teams of Colby and Goodland. They'll be competing in Dodge City down at Preston Courts. And cannot forget, it is a little bit of baseball. Regular season comes to an end for Goodland and Colby high school baseball teams. Goodland going to Cimarron, Colby on the road at Sublette. We talked with Todd Kane yesterday about the Colby Eagle season. If you missed that, you can, of course, catch up on the podcast anywhere you get your podcast. But the Eagles, of course, 15-5. Looking to get 2 more wins against a Sublette team that has single-digit wins this year. So we get to 17-5, which would, like I said, and then Goodland trying to pick up a win or 2 on the road. That'll be a really interesting series. Cimarron is a really good team. They got a great quality starting pitcher that they'll throw in Game 1 or Game 2 more than likely, or probably more than likely in Game 1. So I expect a low-scoring game. It's going to come down to getting those timely hits for the Cowboys down at Cimarron. I think they could get one. Maybe they've proven they could beat anybody, but they also proven they could lose to anybody as well. So Cimarron, a quality baseball team this year and a quality baseball program this year. So it'll be a tough series, but I'm not going to I mean, Goodland needs some more wins to try and get out of that final spot and not be the 8 seed in the regional and have to go on the road to Holcomb. You'd much rather, go move up a spot, maybe 2 if you get 2 wins, and like your chances going somewhere else in the first round of regionals. While Colby, they're trying to, if they get the win, a little bit of help, they might be able to be the number 1 seed. I think it's more likely they're going to be the 2 seed in regionals at this point in time. So, but big games to finish up the regular season for both Colby and Goodland on the road today. So there you go. That is the weekend slate.
And back lifts his ball deep to right. How about a walk-off Brady? Thomas to the 10. Denver's going on to New England. They win it on the first play of overtime. Mahomes flings it. It's there. Hardman. Jackpot. Kansas City.
Quick update from the NBA playoffs last night. It was Minnesota bouncing back to even up that series at a game apiece over the Warriors, 117-93. Tonight, Game 3s of the Cleveland, Indiana, and Oklahoma City, Denver series. So we'll see if the Pacers, now at home, can find a way to go up 3-0 on Cleveland. And we'll see if Denver bounces back or they get absolutely slapped again by Oklahoma State. Hopefully the home court advantage of playing at Ball Arena will help out the Nuggets tonight. And then Saturday, you've got Boston, New York, and Golden State, Minnesota on Saturday for the NBA slate. All right, that'll do it for the show today. Thanks again to listening. Thanks to Eric Sorensen. We're back again on Monday. Hope you join us then, and have a great weekend. Should be beautiful weather to get out starting today with just some absolutely gorgeous springtime weather. Have a great weekend. See you on Monday. It's been the Blitz.
Rocket 102.5 is KKCI Goodland.